What is going on, everybody? I am back today to talk about a movie that was released earlier in the year last year that I was actually really interested to see when it was first announced. And for some reason, I missed it when it was in the theater. And then when it was first released on VOD, I just completely and totally forgot about it. And I saw some things posted about it recently and realized that it was a movie from last year I really wanted to catch and check out. And there was a lot of negativity surrounding this movie when it was first released. There were a ton of walkouts in theaters. It seemed to be one of those things where people either really loved it or really hated it. And I was interested in it because the premise seemed to be pretty wild. And normally I really like very abstract, strange, weird movies that are directors taking a risk. And that's exactly what this movie was supposed to be. And so the film I'm going to be discussing with you today is Sasquatch Sunset. Sasquatch Sunset is directed by David and Nathan Zellner. In the misty forests of North America, a family of Sasquatches, possibly the last of their enigmatic kind, embark on an absurdist, epic, hilarious, and ultimately poignant journey over the course of 1 year. These shaggy and noble giants fight for survival as they find themselves on a collision course with the ever-changing world around them. So, like I said, I was looking forward to watching this, especially because Jesse Eisenberg and Riley Keough were like two of the Sasquatches, and I'm like, it's crazy that these actors pick to play these roles where they have virtually no dialogue. It's just like grunting and dressing up in these crazy Sasquatch costumes, and I was looking forward to it for that very reason. And I did not enjoy this movie, and I'm really surprised that I didn't enjoy it. I really respect what the directors were going for here, but I think they bite off a lot more than they can chew. And I think that the problem with this movie is it feels like it's one specific thing for a very long portion of the movie, and then it tries to be something else towards the end. And when you get to that point, it's already lost so much steam, it's really hard to kind of reinvest yourself at that point. And I think that was the biggest issue for me, and I'm going to talk about it with you a little bit today. So the plot of this movie was perfectly explained in the description I read. It is a group of 4 Sasquatches that are traveling the wilderness together throughout the course of 1 year. And we get the title cards of spring, summer, fall, and winter. And we just see them going about their day-to-day lives and how they interact with the natural world and eventually coming into contact with our world in a very small way. So like I said, I respect the ambitiousness of this movie, but it did not work for me at all. What I'll say, I'll get some positives out of the way for starters. It's beautifully shot. I really think that the way that the filmmakers capture the essence of nature and just the beauty of nature in contrast with the disgusting actions of the Sasquatches, and then once we have kind of humanity bleed into nature and the effects of humanity on nature, I think that paying attention to the cinematography is incredibly important to convey that subject matter. I really like that there was a lot of attention to detail in that. I think the look of the Sasquatches is really great. It's all practical, which I thought was really awesome. And I'm sure that it was a heck of an experience for these actors to put these costumes on every day and just have to do this again and again, because there are some truly vile and disgusting bodily function moments with peeing and pooping and intense sex scenes that are shown and all different kinds of things. And I'm sure it was asking a lot of these actors to put on this level of a performance. And I think all 4 of the actors in this movie do a really fantastic job. And that's something that I would really commend each and every one of them on. And then the other part of the movie that I really enjoyed quite a bit was the score. The score is actually really beautiful, and I think that it accompanies the movie very well and helps sort of carry the emotional tone throughout the brief hour and 28-minute runtime. But as I said, the movie doesn't work for me as a whole. For starters, the first probably half hour of this movie comes across very much as a slapstick comedy. It's ridiculous. It's people pooping and peeing and puking and ridiculous sex scenes and all of that thrown at you, to where it just feels like it's trying to be absurdish schlock. And I'm sure there's like the primal instinct of these creatures, and there's a bit of a comedic wink at that, especially like the intense sex drive of the alpha male in the beginning of the movie. There's like more that you can unpack there, but I felt like overall the first half hour was trying to be ridiculously slapstick. And the problem for me me in that, it got very repetitive very quickly to where I'm like, okay, there's only so much I'm personally going to get out of these creatures pooping and peeing and all of that. Like, it's just, as a kid, I probably would have found it a lot funnier, but as an adult now, I can still appreciate absurdist gross out humor if it's done through a lens that it's utilized correctly. And this just felt like 30 straight minutes of it in your face, where it just kind of lost me. And the ending of the movie, the last like 35 minutes, they try to build this really emotional climax where like the characters are put in danger. There's a whole lot about family in this movie and overcoming and persevering through difficult struggles. But it's like I said at the beginning of the review, it all feels too little too late because of how much of the time at the beginning of the movie that just seems wasted on these repetitive scenes of just gross out humor. And like I said at the beginning, I feel like they're trying to say something about the relationship with humanity and nature and the animals that live in nature, and then just a commentary on family dynamics and persevering through different hardships. But it all feels kind of like pushed to the back to the really disgusting, gross out humor. And I think that, you know, when you're juggling tonality in a movie, it's like I talk about with horror comedy quite often. Only the best directors can do horror comedy because it's really difficult to shift from something being genuinely scary to making you laugh. It's really hard to kind of balance those things. And I think when you put comedy and drama together, it can also be very difficult. It has to be handled with a really delicate balance. And I felt like the shift was so drastic that like when the characters' lives were in peril or someone was on the verge of death, I just didn't care all that much because I didn't feel like there was a really great buildup. And they are animalistic creatures. They have semblance of humanity, but obviously they're more tied into their animal instincts. And so because of the way that they're portrayed, it makes it more difficult to grab a hold onto and care empathetically for these characters when they're put in those situations because of how they're framed early on in the movie. And I feel like if there were more emotional beats early on, it might have been easier for that entire series of scenes at the end to hit harder emotionally. But for me, it just didn't really work. And I was disappointed because, like I said, there's a lot of things that you can commend about this movie. I feel like the attention to detail and the cinematography and the performances and all those things I discussed early on, they should be commended. And I'm really impressed that these directors took a risk trying to do something like that. But I think at the point in the movie where everything shifts, it was too little too late for me. It seems like that was the case for a lot of people who watched this movie. And it's disappointing because it really felt like it could have been something special. So have you seen Sasquatch Sunset? Did you love it? Did you hate it? Leave me a comment down below and let me know what you thought. I was really disappointed in this movie, despite the fact that I respect what the directors were trying to do. As always, if you can like the video and subscribe to the channel, helps me out a lot and lets me know the type of content you're looking for. I'm always putting out new material and look forward to getting more out for you in the near future. And as always, everyone, thank you so much for watching and have a great rest of your day.